Welcome to the second Founders and Funders of this academic year. We're very happy to have you here. I see some faces that we had last time. I see some new faces as well, so it's glad that I'm glad to hear that the news is spreading. My name is Chris de Koning. I run Founders and Funders together with Michael, who you saw downstairs. And today we've got Ian Hardingham here with us, CTO of Oxford Brain Diagnostics, and also founder and former CEO of Mode7, which is a games developer. Then we've got Cezary Skarżyński.
Oh, that was nice. I'm impressed.
I practiced that one. Who leads the OVH Cloud Startup Program for UK, Ireland and Northern Europe. None of this was possible without our partners, OVH Cloud, one of them, Mishkondareya and Novabook. They will also be joining later in the pub, so if you want to talk to them about any of the service that they provide, can highly recommend it. Yeah, Founders and Funders, every first Tuesday of the month. If there's someone or something you want to learn about, let us know. We do this for the community, by the community, so yeah, you are pretty much in charge, and we just organize the setting where you can have the talks. So without further ado, join me in welcoming Cezary.
Cool, welcome everyone. It's great to be here, and thank you, of course, Christian and Michael is somewhere around for inviting me. So quick introduction from my side. So my name is Cezary Skarżyński. Very well, I'm very impressed actually. I'm leading the startup program for OVH Cloud. In one sentence, what we are doing and who are we? We are the largest European cloud provider. We have 45 data centers all over the world, etc. I would like to give you a little bit of my personal story today, because it's actually my second time in Oxford ever. So I would like to meet you guys, of course, and interact with the community, etc. So yes, how I got here, basically, how I got to OVH Cloud, etc. So I come from consulting industry, and what consultants do the best, right? They do pretty slides the best, right? So I was amazing in doing pretty slides. I was a master in PowerPoint, in Excel, etc. And after a couple of years of working in consulting industry, I worked with one of the biggest companies in the world, like for example, like Lafarge. So I think one of the biggest construction companies in the world. I've done pretty slides, and I started working with VCs basically. I could do pretty slides, right, etc. So I started doing pitch decks for startups. I've done dozens of pitch decks, several of them. In 1 year, I helped a couple of companies raise money. One of them raised $7 million. Then I think the follow-on was like $20 million. So I gained some experience in the startup world. I know, of course, what investors are looking for, what startups are looking for, etc. And yes, after learning a lot about the startup industry, I joined the OVH Cloud team. I'm Polish, so I started working in the Polish office. I did this program for I think 1.5 years, 2 years maybe, and then I moved to London 10 months ago. So I'm actually quite new here in the ecosystem, and I right now work with amazing founders and startups like Ian, for example, here. So he's one of our Scale program members. So in a couple of sentences, now what are we doing, and how you as an ecosystem can benefit from our ecosystem also. So as I mentioned, we are the largest European cloud provider. We have 45 data centers all over the world, 450,000 servers hosted in our data centers. We are fully EU compliant for the EU regulations. We have 1.6 million customers all around the world, and we have our own startup program, which I am running for the UK market and the whole Northern Europe. How two pretty much group of stakeholders can benefit from it. So startups, we offer companies between 10 to 100,000 euros for 12 months in free cloud infrastructure. So for example, Ian's company is benefiting from it. So if you are a startup founder, imagine you're I don't know, having some storage, some databases, you have some GPUs, you have some more advanced infrastructure, etc. You can host it for free on our cloud. That's one thing. And then we also work with the whole ecosystem. Like for example, I know that there are some VCs here in the room. So we work with VCs by giving them access to our portfolio. All of our portfolio companies are extremely in detail validated, etc. So we don't accept everyone basically. So we provide VCs with deal flow also. We have our own accelerators. We had our blockchain accelerator. We had our AI accelerator, etc. So this is also the way how we interact with the whole ecosystem. And then we also, provide this personal touch to all of our companies. So every one of our companies can, make sure, maybe Ian can confirm that, we just take care of those companies. And, we just make sure that every one of our companies know that, there's always a second, another person on the other side of the computer, not some kind of bot or, I don't know, like AI customer service or anything. And then, we also provide companies with, marketing support, with, some visibility, pitching opportunities at our events. For instance, 16 companies that are right now selected to Blockchain Accelerator will be pitching in Paris on our big event for like 2,000 people, etc. So we provide, many exposure activities for our companies. So yeah, we worked with, Oxford Capital, we worked with founders and funders, we worked with, Antler, A Sweden, with multiple ecosystem partners all around the world, not only in the UK or Northern Europe, but globally. We have supported 5,100 startups so far, worked with, dozens of investors all around the world. That's it from my side, so thank you.
Next up, Ian.
Hi guys, I'm not here to sell OVH Cloud, but they are an excellent partner. I fully recommend them. So nice to see you all here today. I'm going to talk a bit about my personal journey, and then I'm going to talk a bit about Oxford Brain Diagnostics, the Oxford spin-out that I am the CTO for. So I studied computer science here under the great Mike Spivey at Oriel College, and I was big into computer games. Loved how at that time in the late 90s, early noughties, new technology was coming along every single month that was transforming what felt possible on our computers. I remember struggling to download a 5 megabyte file, it taking me 2 days at my mum's internet connection and just being thrilled when it finally came down. Obviously things have changed a bit now. I worked at a large local games developer in my summers at Oxford, and I didn't enjoy the experience. I have to say I found it not a very happy place. I found a lot of people who weren't having a great time, and the management wasn't great. So that spurred me to think, when I was deciding what to do next, that I could start a company of my own. Not only that, it was a great time. It was the start of the time when the internet was making it possible to get a game out there and be commercially successful without a publisher. I mean, this seems like a million years ago. Everyone in this room, you can create a startup using vibe coding with just yourself and reach everyone in the world now. But back then, people were still putting games and electronic products in boxes and taking them around Europe in trucks. So I sort of said to my parents, I said, okay, I'm going to give this a go, and bootstrap the company. Spent 3 years making our first product, and it was a massive failure. To this day, I think it's made about £2,500 on that 3-year investment. So we regrouped. One of my good friends who'd been part of the team, I decided to have him as a full business partner. He fit me in lots of different ways. We had to go out and get some contract work to survive. We took on some contract work developing live streaming software for live TV. And we used the proceeds of that to make our second product, which was a huge success. Made mid 7 figures and completely transformed our company, and was a really great time. So that was my journey up to 2011. At that point, we branched out into publishing games and continuing to develop our own games. And as I'm sure you guys know, that market became saturated pretty much in the sort of mid-late 10s. You may have heard of the digital storefront Steam. Back when we launched our first game, there were 3 new products launched on Steam every week. Now there are 50 new products every day. And as we all know, from whichever area we're founders in, we need to find new areas which are not saturated, areas that we can make a difference. So at that time, I was looking around and I was excited by the idea of medical technology, and I came to meet the founders of Oxford Brain Diagnostics, and especially Stephen Chance. So the founders are professors out of the university, and they had developed an exciting technology that I will tell you about now. We're going to switch to the Uber-style pitch deck now, but it won't be too painful, I promise. So here's the problem. Everyone's heard of dementia. I'm sure you guys all know that it's an absolutely terrible disease that we'd very much like to cure. It's number 2 on a lot of people's hit lists for things they'd like to get rid of, and maybe even number 1 on some people's. Nowadays, with us all living longer, I would be surprised if there was anyone in this room who didn't have a relative or a friend's relative who didn't get dementia and has seen how difficult it is. But we can put some numbers on this. 1 in 3 people are going to suffer from dementia right now if we aren't able to do something about it. Again, we can put numbers on it, but I think we can all imagine what the cost of society is because we live it partially ourselves. And one of the biggest things that is concerning is this drug discovery failures. All the big companies want to fix dementia. Obviously, it's a huge market and a huge public good, but they keep failing. And one of the main reasons they keep failing, or have kept failing in the past, is that the processes that lead to cognitive impairment and dementia, due to Alzheimer's and other diseases, they start happening in your body years before you get symptoms, as many as 15 years. The time to treat this disease is generally before you have significant symptoms. So in order to develop a drug that can address it, you have to get people who are pre-symptomatic Alzheimer's, otherwise you can't tell that it's working. So that's one of the big issues that needs to be solved. And this rather quaint image is a good example of why it's so difficult to evaluate how drugs that are working on you before you have cognitive impairment are working. I presume there are no radiologists in the room. Even if there were some radiologists in the room, they would tell you that it is not very easy from that image to tell whether this person has atrophy due to Alzheimer's or just standard shrinking from aging. So this is the kind of stuff that we have to deal with. Obviously, we have to take pictures inside your brain while you are alive. So along comes our technology. So to give you an idea about what we do, we take a structural scan of your brain and we create a 3D model of how the microstructure in a healthy version of your brain should be organized, and then how the microscopic water that's in your brain would move if your brain were healthy. We then compare that to a water diffusion scan taken at the same time and look at the difference. We use the way that the water is moving to show where there is microstructural changes that you cannot see visually from images such as this. So that's the core of the technology. I hope I've explained it in a sort of relatively understandable way. As CTO, I had various things to do. So the first was to deploy this technology into the cloud for our pharmaceutical clients. Wonderful cloud providers such as Cezary helping me out with that. And also to create a product that could be used by clinicians when evaluating people who have early cognitive impairment, which can be due to a UTI, can be due to traumatic brain injury, or can be due to the early stages of dementia. What you're seeing here is one part of our FDA cleared report, and I'd be happy to talk to anyone at the pub later about the process of getting FDA clearance. It's a very exciting process, I can tell you that. But as anyone who works in the health tech industry knows, it's one of the most important things to get right. And this is another example, sort of you can get a general idea. We can look at your longitudinal change and see how you're doing. And we're working with multiple large biotech and pharmaceutical companies with their drug discovery right now. Now, this slide I actually tried to take out, but then my team told me not to take out. This is like a really solid pitch slide. We are going for our Series A fundraising next year. And just to give you an idea about what makes us a good company, we already have repeat sales to large clients. We have FDA clearance for our first product and FDA breakthrough device designation for our next product. And we are currently operating a proper clinical trial on the clinical use of our technology in the NHS with a large NIHR grant. And there we go. So that's my story and Oxford Brain Diagnostics story. I would absolutely love to hear from any of you guys who have any questions. I have a lot of experience in all different areas of this journey, and thank you for your attention.